सो हे फैम, वेलकम बैक टू द सेशन। डायरेक्ट मार्केट्स में जंप करते हैं। आई नो थोड़ा लेट हो गया, 8:13 हो रहे हैं। हम डायरेक्ट बैठ के ट्रेड करेंगे। लास्ट डे ऑफ द वीक। आई होप कि हम इसको अच्छा एंड करेंगे। स्ट्रेट टू द चार्ट्स, लेट्स नॉट वेस्ट एनी मोर टाइम। पहले अच्छे से बैक टेस्ट करूंगा। कल भी हमने इसी वजह से ट्रेड नहीं की क्योंकि बैक टेस्टिंग में आई वाज नॉट सेटिस्फाइड, तो फिर मैंने आगे कंटिन्यू नहीं किया। सो सेम थिंग आज भी हम करेंगे। और तुम लोग कैसे हो? कैसा गुजरा दिन? अगर तुम लोगों ने कुछ ट्रेड वगैरह किया तो मुझे बताओ, मैं कुछ प्रिकॉशंस ले लूँगा। कैसे हो सब? अच्छा, अब्दुल शफीक। डैम, अब्दुल शफीक नाम रखा हुआ है इसने क्या? ओह, आई फॉरगॉट टू चेंज द नेम। अब्दुल शफीक मैं ही हूँ भाई। अब्दुल शफीक, मेरे जहन में कोई नाम नहीं आ रहा था तो आई थॉट कि अब्दुल शफीक ज़्यादा अच्छा रहेगा। आज नहीं करा 50-50 एल, तो मोस्टली तो मुझे यही वाईफाई ख़राब है। वाईफाई या मार्केट ख़राब है भाई, आई डोंट नो। इसको तुम बोर ना हो तो साथ में मैं भी बोर ना हूँ, तो हम कुछ देख लेंगे। ये बहुत पहले देखी थी मैंने, बहुत पहले देखी थी, आई रिमेंबर। और बहुत मज़े की वीडियो है ये, देखना तुम भी साथ में। ईमान भाई, कॉपीराइट नहीं भेज देना भाई, कॉपीराइट नहीं भेज देना। इट्स अ वेरी गुड वीडियो, एजुकेशनल पर्पस यूज़ ओनली। ठीक है।
These incredible goals, dreams, aspirations, but you just don't know how to accomplish them. Now, if that is you, I need you to listen very, very, very closely to the rest of this video, because in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how you can reclaim back your life using the dopamine detox. Now, real quick, let me tell you the first place that you're probably stuck, because most people think that they lack energy or they lack knowledge, aka the know-how, and that is why they are not where they want to be in life. Well, that's actually wrong. The main thing that you are lacking is focus. Because when you are a person who has a lot of focus and can focus in on a singular thing, then it's very easy to actually get the know-how and the tangible knowledge needed to accomplish your goals. And second, when you're focused in on a singular task and you can do that for a long time, you really start to enjoy it. Now, how do you cultivate focus? And this is really where the dopamine detox comes in. Because let me tell you the state of normal people. Right now, most people on their desk, they have 3 different devices. They have an iPad, an iPhone, a computer. Each one has bell notifications going on. While that's running on a separate tab, they've got their Twitter feed running 24/7. And for me, one of the funniest things are seeing people with multi-display setup. For me, one of the ways that I was actually able to get to $10 million after tax by the age of 21 was through focus. And one of the ways that I was able to focus was I've always just had one monitor in front of me. I've always just had one screen in front of me. And I've always made sure that I just have the window open that I need, and any windows that I'm not using are closed and can get reopened later. Another example is even when I was 14, 15, 16, and I was really getting into the world of self-help, starting to read a book a week and really just working on myself and working on my capacity to focus and work. I was notorious for always just having my phone on airplane mode most of the day, and then when I needed to use it, I would just take it off of airplane mode. And the reason I do this sort of stuff is because I want to make sure no one is able to rob me of my focus. So as I said, if you're at a point in life where you have these goals, but it feels like when you sit at your desk, you can't get to it. Like it's too hard. You're just constantly distracting yourself. That means that you need to work on your focus. And in order to work on your focus, you need to reset your dopamine levels. Now, I'm sure you guys have seen plenty of videos on YouTube about dopamine detoxes, what they are, what they can do for you, how it can help you achieve your goals. Well, in today's video, what I'm really going to do is I'm just going to give you a framework for the next 7 days of what to do to actually reset your dopamine levels. Tangibly, what that's going to feel like, what you're actually going to, like how your experience of the world is going to be different 7 days from now. And then most importantly, how to integrate that. Because here's what happens a lot of times is people will do dopamine detoxes, and then from there, one bad habit will creep back in. Like, for example, their phone is the first thing they check in the morning, and that'll creep back in for 2 or 3 days. And then they're like, you know what? When I'm doing work, might as well just have a podcast or a YouTube video playing in the background. And these bad habits start to sneak back in. So I'm going to show you exactly after the 7-day dopamine detox, how to actually integrate this back into your life. Now, everyone might have varying opinions on how long you should actually do a dopamine detox for. For me personally, I think 7 days is a good benchmark. And there are 4 key pillars to resetting your dopamine levels. Now, you need to understand that a detox, in of itself insinuates that it's going to be a short burst. So a dopamine detox for me, as I said, is not a lifestyle. It is a hard reset that you press in order to reset your levels. So that way you increase your capacity to focus, to be disciplined, and you actually increase.
मैंने आज पूरा दिन अपने भाइयों को फ़ोन अपने बहन भाइयों को फ़ोन यूज़ करने नहीं दिया, ठीक है, जस्ट बिकॉज दे आर जस्ट लाइक दिस पूरा दिन. मैंने उनसे फ़ोन लिया, वो जाके लूडो खेलने लग गए. सही है. कॉन्टीन्यूस डोपामिन चाहिए, कॉन्टीन्यूस डोपामिन. दिस इज़ अ बैड हैबिट ब्रो, बैड हैबिट, बहुत ज़्यादा. लाइक आई थिंक सो कि ये चर्स ड्रग्स के कंपैरिजन में खड़ी हो सकती है ये चीज़.
Your output levels. Now for the next 7 days, starting from tomorrow, here are the 4 things I need you to do in order to practice a dopamine detox. Now, before I say this, as I said, there are people that have, radically different approaches to it. These are just the 4 that I would recommend over the space of the last 8 years, ever since I was 14. So from 14 to 22, practicing different dopamine detoxes.
As I'm seeing, मुझे कोई continuation वगैरह यहाँ इस एरिया पे नहीं नज़र आई जो कि आनी चाहिए. बट हमें यहाँ पे भी केला मिला, फिर यहाँ पे भी केला मिला. इवन कंटिन्यूएशन तो आई नहीं, एरर आफ्टर कंटिन्यूएशन भी नहीं आया. सो हैव टू मेक श्योर कि ये चीज़ ना हो अगर हम ट्रेड करें तो.
At different points of the year. So the first one is 1 hour a day screen time on your phone. Now, if you actually open up your iPhone right now, I'm sure there must be a version of this on Android. You can actually add your screen time as a widget onto your home screen. So allow yourself 1 hour of screen time every day for the next 7 days. Now, if your job involves, your mobile phone for some reason, which by the way, most of the time it doesn't, you can, even if you need to use WhatsApp for your work, you could just use WhatsApp desktop, because it's just, of course, you're still technically using WhatsApp, but it's just a lot more focused, and it's just a lot more purposeful than just being on your phone. So as I said, 1 hour a day of mobile screen time use for the next 7 days. And even if you need to use it for your work, just find some sort of workaround. As I said, this isn't something that you do for the rest of your life. This is really just something to reset the button. So that is pillar number 1 of the 7-day dopamine detox reset, which is 1 hour a day of mobile screen time. Hey, just a heads up, if you enjoy content like this, definitely go ahead and follow my Twitter. I'm posting stuff like this every single day on there in real time, just sharing my thoughts, things that are coming in my mind, things that have helped me get to this point in life. In fact, if you go on there, the first pinned comment is a full thread on exactly how I made $10 million last year in 2021 and the 10 things I learned from it. So I'll leave that on.
And so
you asked me if doing prison was the hard part, and I spent over 12 years in prison. In 18 years, I did 12 total, and it wasn't.
I'm back testing यहाँ पे डाउन डायरेक्शन के लिए बैक टेस्ट कर रहा हूँ मैं. लेट्स सी क्या होता है यहाँ पे, क्या रिएक्शन आता है.
The hard part wasn't going to prison; it was getting out and trying to be part of society again. Because at one time I was a contractor. I had 4 employees, 3-bedroom house, blah 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 blah, and I had to lose it all to realize it was just stuff. But still, then when you're done with your time, and I discharged my sentence in February 11th of 2011, I got my parole papers signed off. I became a citizen again. I can actually vote. I can actually go in and vote for the president. But I can't get a job here or here or here. I can't have any apartments because they won't accept felons. And I even went through an agency that
ये पहली ट्रेड बैक टेस्टिंग में ना.
took felons, and they'll give a pedophile an apartment before they will me because I had a drug charge. I wasn't even dealing drugs. I had possession. But anybody that has possession of drugs, they're worried about them selling drugs in their apartments, so they won't give them one. But this place would give a pedophile, somebody who raped a little baby or something, and give them an apartment, but they wouldn't let me have one because of my felony, because I had a drug felony. And just the hard part was just becoming part of society again. It's like they didn't want me. They didn't want me to be part of their society anymore. So I just decided, fuck it. I'm going to sleep in a tent. I'm going to do what I love for a living, which is playing music. And if I just make a little bit of money, I'd rather do what I love with a passion and make a little money than go back to contracting and try to make a lot of money and be part of a society that doesn't even want me anymore. Fuck them, you know? Fuck society. That's the way I feel.
Feel that? Why did...
I meet a lot of good people, but I believe there's a lot of good people out there, but for the most part, most people, all they care about is themselves. You could be standing there on the corner bleeding and people just drive by you. And they wouldn't want no part of it. They wouldn't want no part of the drama. So there'd be 1 in 10 that might stop and help. You know? I walked up to a woman once to ask her what time it was. I was pushing a cart. Me and my wife were pushing our cart. We had all our stuff in a grocery cart. I was pushing. I needed to know what time it was, so I went up to ask this woman what time it was. She's like, "Oh, get away from me. I don't have any money. Leave me alone." I'm like, "I don't want it." She's like, "Just get away from me. Go." I'm like, and I'm thinking, what could have this woman been through that she's so terrified of a stranger that she... What if my wife was pregnant, her water just broke, and I needed help? I mean, who knows? What if I was having chest pain and I needed her to call 911? She didn't care. It was just, get away from me. Go. I don't got no money. She thought all I wanted was her money. I just want to know what time it was. And it hurt, man. It's like, damn. People...
It does hurt.
You know, it's like, damn. It's humanity. So many people, what have they been through that makes them so terrified of relationships and people that they just don't want nothing to do with nobody? It's sad. It's
I
really
wasn't
sad.
scared of you when I saw you.
Well, but you're 1 in a million, you know? I mean, you're actually sitting down and talking to me, you know? Most people don't give a damn. But it's all right. You know, when it comes down to it, I came in this world by myself, and when I die, I'm going to be the only one in that coffin. And so really all I guess that matters is me, I guess. I don't know. I think people matter, but the more I'm starting to see, less and less.
You matter, bro.
I feel that way about you too, man. You matter. I mean, you care.
You
It's
matter.
sad to see that most people don't. It's just sad because there's so much beautiful things in...
Good morning. Whoops, it's raining. Hold on a minute. There. I thought I'd talk to you a little bit this morning about, oh, by the way, this is a new computer and it does all kinds of things, so I have to be careful. I'm not the sharpest tack in the box when it comes to this new equipment. You're talking to a guy, or a guy is speaking to you now, that started driving a Model A car. I remember the first jet airplane and many first things. The Iceman delivering ice to an ice box, taking it off of a mule-drawn wagon. So, but I'd like to speak to you a little bit this morning about young people in particular, about accomplishing things. When I was young, as you know, I had a difficult childhood, but there's no excuse for people not being able to do what they want to do. You can do anything that you want to do. For example, as I've told you before, I lived in the back of an old car. I taught myself to read and write. So if you're young, don't give up. Don't say the world is just against me. That's not true. I taught myself to read and write. I've had 5 books published. I went to college, got a little bit of college. I've studied scripture for many, many years. I've raised 5 children. I've buried a mother, father, sister, brother, wife, and daughter. So a person can accomplish anything that they want. One time, to prove to myself that I was not an ignorant person, I bought a blackboard.
यहाँ पे मैं बैक टेस्ट कर रहा हूँ अब डायरेक्शन के लिए.
And I purchased
ट्रेड नहीं ले रहा, मैं बैक टेस्ट कर रहा हूँ.
a correspondence course for computer programming, and I completed it with the blackboard. So, forge ahead.
सेम यहाँ पे AOD CHF पे भी मैं अब डायरेक्शन की बैक टेस्ट कर रहा हूँ.
Don't stop. Never stop learning. Always reach out to better yourself, because when you do that, things expand. You understand more. You're happier. You're healthier.
दोनों बैक टेस्टिंग एल थी है. लेट्स सी इस पे कंटिन्यूएशन हमारा एरर आफ्टर कंटिन्यूएशन वर्क करता है या नहीं, दोनों दोनों एरिया पे.
This old saying that if you don't use it, you lose it, is absolutely true. If you don't use that brain that God put in your head, one of these days you'll be sitting on a front porch somewhere and you won't hardly know what's going on. So don't give up. If times are hard,
MTG अच्छा वर्क किया. MTG अच्छा वर्क किया यहाँ पे. मतलब लेट्स अज्यूम इसको हम 5 में से ना 3 विंस कंसिडर कर लेते हैं बैक टेस्टिंग में. JPY में ना एक ट्रेड बैक टेस्टिंग पे वॉल्यूम ज़्यादा था लेकिन एरिया अच्छा था.
good.
Today, I want to tell you 3 stories from my life. That's it. No big deal. Just 3 stories. The first story is about connecting the dots. I dropped out of Reed College after the first 6 months, but then stayed around as a drop-in for another 18 months or so before I really quit. So why'd I drop out? It started before I was born. My biological mother was a young, unwed graduate student, and she decided to put me up for adoption. She felt very strongly that I should be adopted by college graduates, so everything was all set for me to be adopted at birth by a lawyer and his wife. Except that when I popped out, they decided at the last minute that they really wanted a girl. So my parents, who were on a waiting list, got a call in the middle of the night asking, "We've got an unexpected baby boy. Do you want him?" They said, "Of course." My biological mother found out later that my mother had never graduated from college and that my father had never graduated from high school. She refused to sign the final adoption papers. She only relented a few months later when my parents promised that I would go to college. This was the start in my life. And 17 years later, I did go to college. But I naively chose a college that was almost as expensive as Stanford. And all of my working class parents' savings were being spent on my college tuition. After 6 months, I couldn't see the value in it. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, and no idea how college was going to help me figure it out. And here I was, spending all of the money my parents had saved their entire life. So I decided to drop out and trust that it would all work out okay. It was pretty scary at the time, but looking back, it was one of the best decisions I ever made. The minute I dropped out, I could stop taking the required classes that didn't interest me and begin dropping in on the ones that looked far more interesting. It wasn't all romantic. I didn't have a dorm room, so I slept on the floor in friends' rooms.
यार मुझे समझ नहीं आ रही इतनी ये एरिया समझ नहीं आया मुझे. यहाँ पे थोड़ा ख़राब किया है मुझे इसने. इस पे मैं बैक टेस्ट कर रहा हूँ डाउन डायरेक्शन के लिए. USD JPY वेट करेंगे, हम देखेंगे अच्छा कि क्या रिजल्ट्स होते हैं बैक टेस्टिंग के, उसके बाद सोचेंगे.
Turn Coke bottles for the 5-cent deposits to buy food with. And I would walk the 7 miles across town every Sunday night to get one good meal a week at the Hare Krishna temple. I loved it. And much of what I stumbled into by following my curiosity and intuition turned out to be priceless later on. Let me give you one example. Reed College at that time offered perhaps the best calligraphy instruction in the country. Throughout the campus, every poster, every label on every drawer was beautifully hand calligraphed. Because I had dropped out and didn't have to take the normal classes, I decided to take a calligraphy class to learn how to do this.
इधर कंटिन्यूएशन पे देख रहा हूँ मैं, एरर आफ्टर कंटिन्यूएशन समझ नहीं आ रही मुझे.
I learned about serif and sans serif typefaces, about varying the amount of space between different letter combinations, about what makes great typography great. It was beautiful, historical, artistically subtle in a way that science can't capture, and I found it fascinating. None of this had even a hope of any practical application in my life. But 10 years later, when we were designing the first Macintosh computer, it all came back to me. And we designed it all into the Mac. It was the first computer with beautiful typography. If I had never dropped in on that single course in college, the Mac would have never had multiple typefaces or proportionally spaced fonts. And since Windows just copied the Mac, it's likely that no personal computer would have them. If I had never dropped out, I would have never dropped in on that calligraphy class, and personal computers might not have the wonderful typography that they do. Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college, but it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots...
एरिया तो अच्छा निकाल लिया था मैंने. वैसे यहाँ पे हमें कंटिन्यूएशन वगैरह मिलती है नहीं. इतना सफ़र आज तक मैंने ज़िंदगी में नहीं किया होगा ट्रेड्स के लिए. इतना अच्छा हो गया भाई मैं सफ़र के मामले में. लेट्स सी कंटिन्यूएशन पे जाता है या नहीं, क्या मूव क्या आता है देखते हैं. ठीक है, बैक टेस्ट कर रहा हूँ यहाँ पे मैं.
will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart even when it leads you off the well-worn path, and that will make all the difference. My second story is about love and loss. I was lucky. I found what I loved to do early in life. Woz and I started Apple in my parents' garage when I was 20. We worked hard, and in 10 years, Apple had grown from just the two of us in a garage into a $2 billion company with over 4,000 employees. We just released our finest creation, the Macintosh, a year earlier, and I just turned 30. And then I got fired. How can you get fired from a company you started?
क्या है भाई ये अब डायरेक्शन की एरर आफ्टर कंटिन्यूएशन पे मैं बैक टेस्ट कर रहा हूँ. लास्ट अगर ये भी अपने फेवर में नहीं जाती. मोस्टली कंटिन्यूएशन नहीं है, एरर ही आ रहे हैं. देखते हैं क्या होता है.
Well, as Apple grew, we hired someone who I thought was very talented to run the company with me. And for the first year or so, things went well. But then our visions of the future began to diverge, and eventually we had a falling out. When we did, our board of directors sided with him. And so at 30, I was out, and very publicly out. What had been the focus of my entire adult life was gone, and it was devastating. I really didn't know what to do for a few months.
ये छोड़ो, स्टीव जॉब्स ना रोया था एक जॉब के लिए. ये पता है क्या किया इससे, जॉब इसको कैसे मिली थी जब ये जॉब कर रहा था. इसने ये बात यहाँ पे नहीं डिस्कस की, ये इसकी बायोग्राफी में लिखी थी, मैंने पढ़ी थी वहाँ पे. ये कपड़े फाड़ कर रोया था वहाँ पे कि मुझे जॉब दे दो, मुझे ये चाहिए जॉब. तब जाके इसको वो जॉब मिली थी. और यार ये क्या है भाई, बहुत ख़तरनाक एरियाज है भाई. यूरो JPY में ये वेट करो यार, समझ अभी भी इतनी नहीं आ रही मुझे.
Felt that I had let the previous generation of entrepreneurs down, that I had dropped the baton as it was being passed to me. I met with David Packard and Bob Noyce and tried to apologize for screwing up so badly. I was a very public failure, and I even thought about running away from the valley. But something slowly began to dawn on me. I still loved what I did. The turn of events at Apple had not changed that one bit. I'd been rejected, but I was still in love. And so I decided to start over. I didn't see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. The heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again, less sure about everything. It freed me to enter one of the most creative periods of my life. During the next 5 years, I started a company named Next, another company named Pixar, and fell in love with an amazing woman who would become my wife. Pixar went on to create the world's first computer animated feature film, Toy Story, and is now the most successful animation studio in the world. In a remarkable turn of events, Apple bought Next, and I returned to Apple, and the technology we developed at Next is at the heart of Apple's current renaissance. And Lorene and I have a wonderful family together. I'm pretty sure none of this would have happened if I hadn't been fired from Apple. It was awful tasting medicine, but I guess the patient needed it. Sometimes life's going to hit you in the head with a brick.
एप्पल ने इसको निकाला था और एप्पल ने बाद में भीख मांगी थी इससे कि यार आप आ जाओ, कंपनी को बचा लो हमारी. एंड देन इसने शेयर्स ख़रीदे थे कंपनी के ऑलमोस्ट सारे, और उसके बाद एग्रीमेंट किया था कि मैं शेयर्स ख़रीदूँगा सारे, मतलब एक तरह से कंपनी ओन कर रहा था वो. और तब उसने एग्रीमेंट किया था कि हाँ मैं तब आऊँगा कंपनी में काम करने. और एप्पल का डाउनफॉल उस टाइम चल रहा था. तो जैसे ही ये बंदा वापस आया, इसने वो काम किया और एप्पल तुम्हारे सामने आज. आई एम यूजिंग हिज फोन. ठीक है.
Don't lose faith. I'm convinced that the only thing that kept me going was that I loved what I did. You've got to find what you love. And that is as true for work as it is for your lovers. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking and don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. And like any great relationship, it just gets better and better as the years roll on. So keep looking, don't settle. My third story is about death. When I was 17, I read a quote that went something like, "If you live each day as if it was your last, someday you'll most certainly be right." It made an impression on me, and since then, for the past 33 years, I've looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today? And whenever the answer has been no for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart. About a year ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. I had a scan at 7:30 in the morning, and it clearly showed a tumor on my pancreas. I didn't even know what a pancreas was. The doctors told me this was almost certainly a type of cancer that is incurable, and that I should expect to live no longer than 3 to 6 months. My doctor advised me to go home and get my affairs in order, which is doctor's code for prepare to die. It means to try and tell your kids everything. You thought you'd have the next 10 years to tell them in just a few months. It means to make sure everything is buttoned up so that it will be as easy as possible for your family. It means to say your goodbyes. I lived with that diagnosis all day. Later that evening, I had a biopsy where they stuck an endoscope down my throat, through my stomach and into my intestines, put a needle into my pancreas and got a few cells from the tumor. I was sedated, but my wife, who was there, told me that when they viewed the cells under a microscope, the doctors started crying because it turned out to be a very rare form of pancreatic cancer that is curable with surgery. I had the surgery, and thankfully, I'm fine now. This was the closest I've been to facing death, and I hope it's the closest I get for a few more decades. Having lived through it, I can now say this to you with a bit more certainty than when death was a useful but purely intellectual concept. No one wants to die. Even people who want to go to heaven don't want to die to get there. And yet, death is the destination we all share. No one has ever escaped it. And that is as it should be, because death is very likely the single best.
अभी यहाँ से अगर कोई बाइंग आती है हमें तो फिर कंटिन्यूएशन का लास्ट में देखूंगा. अगर वो भी वर्क नहीं करता दैन दैट्स अ क्लियर नो, क्योंकि मुझे मार्केट समझ नहीं आ रही. बिकॉज ये कंटिन्यूस चलता जा रहा है, चढ़ता जा रहा है, सो दैट्स रियली डेंजरस. अभी कोई बाइंग आई या सेलिंग आई तो वहाँ से हम कंटिन्यूएशन के लिए देखते हैं. जैसे कि ये एक वर्क किया यहाँ पे, दैट्स गुड. एरिया अच्छा था, वर्क कर गया. बट हमें ना अपनी दिल से देखना है रेशो हमारा क्या है विनिंग का.
Invention of life. It's life's change agent.
यहाँ से मैं एक अप डायरेक्शन के लिए प्रेडिक्ट कर रहा हूँ, बैक टेस्ट कर रहा हूँ, जो कि ट्रेड नहीं ले रहा. ऑब्वियसली दूंगा तो बताऊंगा, बट नथिंग टिल नाउ. आधे घंटे से बैक टेस्ट कर रहे हैं हम लोग. ये एरिया है, एक और इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ उठा लेते हैं हम लोग. तो रहा है, बन रहा है. यहाँ से नेक्स्ट मैं प्रिडिक्ट करूँ, बैक टेस्ट करूँ अप डायरेक्शन के लिए. इफ़ दिस वर्क्स तो फिर मैं दिमाग लगा के आगे ट्रेड करूँगा. ठीक है, अप डायरेक्शन के लिए एक प्रिडिक्ट कर रहा हूँ, फिर उसकी कंटिन्यूएशन के लिए भी जाऊँगा मैं. बाकियों से मैं रिमूव कर देता हूँ. USD JPY पे हमने बोला था अगर सेलिंग आती है तो कंटिन्यूएशन के लिए देखेंगे. लेट्स सी ये वर्क करता है या नहीं. और एक और पेयर कौन सा था हमारे पास, यूरो USD था. ठीक है, लेट्स सी कंटिन्यूएशन आता है या नहीं आता.
It clears out the old to make way for the new. Right now, the new is you. But someday, not too long from now, you will gradually become the old and be cleared away. Sorry to be so dramatic, but it's quite.
ग्रीन कैंडल बन गया पूरा टाइम रेड रहने के बाद. लेट्स सी ये कंटिन्यूएशन जाता है या नहीं. और आई थिंक आई गॉट माई आंसर, लेकिन एक लास्ट कंटिन्यूएशन के लिए जाता है या नहीं. ठीक है, लेट्स सी.
True. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary. When I was young, there was an amazing publication called the Whole Earth Catalog, which was one of the Bibles of my generation. It was created by a fellow named.
यहाँ पे भी लॉस. ओ नहीं, पलट गई लास्ट सेकंड. वेरी डेंजरस. ये एल और एरर आफ्टर कंटिन्यूएशन. चैट मुझे तुम लोग बताओ मैं क्या करूं. आधा घंटा तुम लोगों ने बैक टेस्टिंग देखी है. अब तुम लोग मुझे बताओ, तुम लोगों से मैं जो डेली आते हैं, कामरान के, हसन, टॉप पे जितने भी ऑलमोस्ट. मैं अनम्यूट कर रहा हूँ आप सब लोगों को. अपना माइक ओपन करो.
मेरा भाई मैंने 3 ट्रेड्स किए हैं स्ट्रॉन्ग लेवल पे और प्राइस लाइन लगा के, तो मेरे तीनों डब्ल्यू गई थी.
डब्ल्यू गई थी. ठीक है। अच्छा, अब ये चैट पे लोग बोल रहे हैं, देखो मैं बहुत ज़्यादा प्रीमियम ट्रेड्स ढूंढ रहा हूँ, मैं बहुत ज़्यादा प्रीमियम ट्रेड्स ढूंढ रहा हूँ, तो उस बेस पे मैं बड़ा रिलैक्स चल रहा हूँ। असल क्या है, कज़ मैं अपना ओपिनियन शेयर करता हूँ, तुम लोगों का माइक मैंने ओपन किया है कज़ आई वांट कि तुम लोग मुझे ये चीज़ बताओ कि एक पहला एक देखो स्ट्रॉन्ग एरियाज़ पे बहुत ज़्यादा, मतलब हम लोग पहले पूरी कैंडल ना अपने फेवर में रहती है, लास्ट के सेकंड में या तो नीचे आ जाती है या पलट जाती है, और एक ये सिनेरियो है। और दूसरा सिनेरियो ये है कि मतलब MTGs वर्क कर रहे हैं, लेकिन कहीं 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 MTGs कहीं कंटिन्यूएशन वर्क कर रहा है, ठीक है, फिर भी MTGs वर्क कर जाते हैं, लेकिन उसमें भी रिस्क है, उसमें भी रिस्क होता है। जैसे कि यहाँ पे तुम लोग USD JPY का चार्ट देखो, तो एक रेड कैंडल थी, हमने कंटिन्यूएशन पे जाना था, उस पे पहले ऊपर तक गई, ऊपर तक जाने के बाद फिर नीचे चल दिया इसने। सो एक ये है, अब तुम लोग मुझे ओपिनियन दो कि हमें क्या करना चाहिए।
ब्रो अभी पे तो वैसे इतनी सही थी नहीं मतलब
हाँ,
कुछ कुछ
ऊपर
देर
नीचे
पहले
गई मार्केट।
कुछ देर पहले भाई बहुत आला वर्क कर रहा था सब कुछ ना।
हाँ, नहीं आई डोंट थिंक सो कि कुछ देर पहले भी कर रहा होगा। अब यहाँ पे ये MTG के लिए देखते हैं, कंटिन्यूएशन पे इसको मोस्ट लाइकली चले जाना चाहिए, लेकिन अगर ये भी पलट जाता है तो दैट वुड बी अ ग्रेट साइन कि मैं बिल्कुल कुछ भी नहीं करूँगा।
सुबह से सुबह से आज न्यूज़ बहुत खतरनाक थी ना, इस वजह से
Stuart,
थोड़ा सीन।
मेरा ऑलमोस्ट हर दिन ना फ्राइडे को लॉस हुआ है।
और 5:30 बजे से न्यूज़ स्टार्ट होंगी और
बहुत ज़्यादा न्यूज़ हैं यार। पर्सनल ओपिनियन दिख रहा था, देखो मैंने न्यूज़ देखे बगैर नहीं यार, मैं क्लोज कर रहा हूँ, यहाँ पे मुझे दिख रहा है, साफ दिख रहा है कि ये देखो, अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह 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 आई एम क्लोजिंग, मुझे एक ग्रेट साइन मिल गया कि आई विल नॉट ट्रेड। ठीक है, सिंपल, मुझे बस वो गुण चाहिए होता है कि मैं अकल से, तुम्हें तुम्हें दिख रहा है कि मैं कितना अच्छा हो गया हूँ बैक टेस्टिंग में, तुम्हें दिख रहा है, तुम लिटरली ना मेरे थ्रू तुम पूरा मार्केट जान सकते हो। मतलब मैं, मुझे घंटा आधा घंटा बिठा दो, मैं बैठा भाई मार्केट देख, उसके बेस पे तुम्हें मैं बता सकता हूँ कि आज तुम 100% रिस्क कर सकते हो या नहीं। लिटरली मैं वेट कर रहा हूँ 100% गई, नजर आ रहा है साफ भाई, लिटरली कोई बेवकूफ़ी होगा वो ट्रेड करेगा इसमें। मतलब मेरा अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह ऐसा कनेक्शन बन गया मार्केट के साथ कि मेरा दिल नहीं मानता, कि नहीं, दिल नहीं मानता। कभी कभार गैम्बल करने का दिल करता है और गैम्बल करता हूँ और मेरा लॉस हो जाता है, नज़र भी आता है, फिर अभी मेरा दिल ही नहीं मान रहा ट्रेड करने को। सो सिंपल, स्क्रीन शेयर क्लोज कर दी।
इस वक्त किसी जगह वर्क कर रहा है, किसी जगह नहीं।
हाँ, तो आई कैन नॉट फोर्स ट्रेड्स। तो विद दिस सी यू टुमारो, सी यू टुमारो। क्या अब हम Q&As करेंगे, सही है, लक्ष्मण भी वापस आ गया, तो तुम लोगों मैं VIP में शेयर कर दूंगा, तुम लोग मुझे बता देना किस टाइमिंग पे हमें Q&A करना चाहिए। और सी यू आज रात में हो सकता है, क्योंकि मैं गले का वेट कर रहा हूँ थोड़ा सा ठीक हो, या तो कल पक्का सैटरडे संडे तुम लोगों का ही है, पूरा दिन तुम लोगों के साथ Q&As होंगे, हर एक चीज़ डिस्कस होगी, दिवाकर भी बैठा होगा। सो सी यू टुमारो या शाम में, सही है। और बाकी जो यूट्यूब पे ये लोग देख रहे हैं, वो सिंपली नीचे डिस्क्रिप्शन में VIP का सारा प्रोसेस है, ज्वाइन करो उसको, और टेलीग्राम पे टीम हुरैरा पे मैसेज कर देना, हुरैरा टीम जो भी टेलीग्राम का होगा। सो सी यू देयर। हाँ जी भाई, हाँ जी भाई, हाँ जी भाई, आप बोलते रहो, मैं जा रहा हूँ।